And now we transition to other stuff. We talked about, I was going to use LeBron to transition, but I think Dwayne Wade actually
I was going to say you could use Dwayne Wade because he was on there.
Because Dwayne Wade has gone onto the media side beyond his ownership and other things he's going on, got going. How he's definitely in the media world heavy. He's on TNT on Tuesday nights. I love watching him, Candace Parker and Shaq and Lefko and all those people over there do a great job with TNT. And with that, as someone that's been a player and now on the media side, we see how sometimes that contrast and people and those former players that are in media can sometimes bump heads with the current players. We saw it a while ago with Shaq and Donovan Mitchell and things of that nature. And we saw it on the grand stage this last week with Shannon Sharpe versus KD, where they got in the war of words, which led to Shannon first off had misquoted KD.
He took a fake quote.
Yeah, he took the bait on some Twitter quote that people made up. You gotta realize these Twitter streets don't make up anything these days. And Shannon took a quote that he thought was real and ran with it to create a narrative about KD. And KD reacted online because KD ain't afraid. No burners, no more. At least I don't think. He responded direct to you, and he responded to Shannon Sharpe and the things he was saying. And they got into a little bit of war of words that ended with Shannon blocking them and KD going about his business. So yeah, we got media and players going to head, and it's now just added the extra wrinkle of some of these media guys are the former players that were in the spots that these pros are that they're combating with. And it's like if you were once in that spot, you know how this game is played, but you're still doing with the media that you were once against. Is still doing. So how you feel about that little battle we saw and just that whole environment now we have former players versus the current on the media side.
Yeah. Well, that situation's a little different too because like Shannon wasn't a basketball player at any point either.
He
was an elite tight end, Hall of Fame tight end, but he didn't dribble a basketball for any professional team. So that's a little bit different when you have a former athlete from a different sport talking about a sport that he never competed in at the highest level. So I can understand some frustration already there from KD. But then for Shannon to take a completely fabricated quote and use it as truth to try to push a narrative about KD, I definitely understand KD clapping back at him and holding his ground. And it came off kind of as weak to me from Shannon. Just like he pushed this narrative online and in the media that's blasted out to millions of people. And then he kind of like retracted and didn't want to like address it when KD addressed him online. He was like, I don't want to do the back and forth. But like you opened yourself up to that by putting something completely fabricated out there for millions to consume. So like it felt kind of weak for him to block him to me because you started this and now you're running from it essentially in my opinion. And I'm not usually on the side of KD and how he operates like on social media, but I was completely with KD in this instance. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm with KD as you really explained it well there. So just piggybacking off of that, I'm with him, and what you said is why. I think with Shannon taking the bait, I think that's the other part as well. While he is a former player that has his criticism, he hasn't had the online stuff. I think he was just prior to that, the whole social media world and that stuff. So he may not, maybe he doesn't know. I don't want to put negativity to give him that out. But
Shannon is high on the social media though.
Right. He didn't. I don't want to give him that out, but just saying he didn't face that during his day like he's facing it now. But now as we see, Shannon does know how the game is played. He's online and very active there. So he should know not to take bait on some things that he sees. But he did and jumped and created that whole narrative as you mentioned. So yeah, it's definitely a weird thing to see. I'm glad that KD responded, and I'm sad that Shannon didn't keep the same energy as I thought he would. So,
I don't know if he apologized on the next show or something. I'm not sure. I didn't care that much, but
I don't even watch that show, so I couldn't tell. I didn't see any clips of him doing so. Usually they would post some kind of response. But I didn't see any response from him, so I guess they left it at that. I think it was more of him trying to explain why he ended blocking, but it's like, we don't care about you blocking one. You want to actually respond. Like you said, we want to keep the energy and talk online the same way you were talking on the show. So whatever. But I think that's a good transition as well, to go into the topic that we saw another show, I Am Athlete, which is blown up. It was a great show. Brandon Marshall, Fred Taylor, Channing Crowder, and Ocho Cinco over there doing a nice show. It has been great to watch. They had a show this last week, after the whole issue with Brandon Marshall and that thing that went viral. They had another competition following that was really good. Debating this very topic, just about players reacting to media, and should they even paying attention to it? How all these guys that are former players, how they feel about the media. And Brandon Marshall and many guys echoed that they, for a long while at least, paid no mind. They may have had a switch in their career where eventually at a point they got used as fuel to respond to people. But for a large majority of their time, it seemed like they say if you weren't a former player or whatever the case may be, we kind of ignored it, and they didn't really have the same impact. Again, kind of like Shannon Sharpe, they weren't dealing with social media and all that kind of stuff as much as we are now. It was popping up as they were all exiting the league, so it wasn't as major for them. But Brandon Marshall did have these experiences. He's someone else in that same lane, former player, now media side. All of them, obviously, as they have their show. But just talking about how they all sometimes don't value or don't listen to what the media has to say. They value what their peers say, or what the GM, what the people that put money in their pockets are saying. But the media folks, that's for the fans to create whatever narrative. But I guess from our side, do you think that the criticism matters? Do you think that players should put weight into what media people are saying, especially as more of these former athletes are entering that field?
Yeah, there was a lot of things and points to unpack in that conversation, which I thought really was a great one. And I agreed with damn near everyone's perspective, and they each kind of gave a different point.
Right.
One, I did agree with Channing Crowder about how much you value your evaluators, that kind of thing he was talking about, and how much credence he should give to people in their mom's basement giving analysis. We are our mom's basement. We're in our bedrooms. Exactly.
Not the basement. It's a nice room. Not in the basement. We're cool over here. But yeah, it's one of the hashtags.
Exactly. Just throwing a little shade at the people like us, but we at least have our own bedrooms. We can say that.
Yeah, exactly. And we keep the same energy, or at least when we have the opportunity to.
Exactly. And that goes to some of the other points that they're making. But I agree with him, and I feel like that honestly is how I would envision an athlete should operate. You shouldn't really care about what most people are saying about you, unless they are giving constructive criticism and have some weight to their opinions. Someone who has played, someone who is an expert on the game, someone who really dives into it and is watching all the games and actually giving critiques based on what you're doing.
But you're usually not getting that on TV.
Exactly. But so you shouldn't be paying attention to the Skip Bayless or whatever, who's going to just run off a narrative, and whatever's getting the most clicks, he's going to stick by. And that kind of goes to Brandon Marshall's point where he was talking about take integrity. And that's kind of something that I've talked about just for us. We seek to keep it 100 and admit when we're wrong about a point. And not to flip-flop, but to just be genuine, be real.
Right.
We'll take a strong take sometimes and be wrong. The athlete will prove you right.
I've taken some strong takes.
Exactly.
But at the same time, I will admit when they are too left or too wrong. So
exactly.
That's the difference. It doesn't seem like these guys will ever apologize. Skip is known to just double down. Stephen A will just double down. He will apologize sometimes, but for the most part, he doubles down. A lot of these guys, unless it's shown that they're completely wrong, it took Max Kellerman, 5 years to say,
about Brady.
Brady take.
He said Brady was going to fall off a cliff in 2015.
Completely wrong that they say they're wrong. So just that integrity is the difference. And so when you're talking about getting that criticism, good criticism from these guys, usually not getting that from them. So it just goes out in one ear and out the other. If they want motivation, there's plenty to be found there. But I think these guys, these players, find plenty of it on their own and don't need to add that extra fuel to the fire. So I'm with players just mind their own business and letting media do what they have to do just to keep viewers in rotation. So that was a major part of the discussion. The other part that I really enjoyed was them talking about how they feel like we need to start giving more players their flowers, and just the idea of too often we talk about these guys we just mentioned. Even we talked about before Stephen A versus Russ, where it seems like all these guys just don't praise these guys enough. It's constantly just, oh, yes you did 35, 15, and 12, but you lost.
But I don't care because you didn't get a ring.
Like, yes you were. Yes your career was MVP, all these accolades, but you didn't have a ring, so it doesn't matter. It's like we don't give enough praise to guys, and it's too much focus on this ring culture. I talked a while ago that the media and fans create that narrative is much more on them for this whole super team culture that we have. Their fans' reactions to it is what has created it. And they talked about it as well. I wanted to just piggyback off of that as we come back to the NBA side. And stick there and just give some credit to some guys that have been on a tear lately. We talked about, I just mentioned Russ. Embiid has came back and looked great. Jokic is looking like he could steal that MVP from Embiid, and there's plenty of others that I just wanted to mention. Just to say that, I don't want to be another pod. I know we say we throw our jokingly hate at LeBron, and we poke at some of all these top guys. But we also definitely do respect. Even with Brady, we talked about in the video that a lot of people are just commenting saying we were hating the whole time. If you actually watch, we were giving him his praise and respect as well. Though we were jokingly talking about how we grew up anti him. So
I mean, that video was literally me holding the L, saying I was wrong.
Right. So there are ways to may not like the person, you can still give them respect and their flowers while they still are in the midst of the great things that they're doing. So just wanted to do that more and not continue to be the guys that just hate the whole time. That's definitely not our intention in being here. So
point that Chad was bringing up with that too is like along with giving players their flowers, he was saying like it's kind of hard for him to be critical of guys because he knows like what they've gone through to get to that point.
Sorry, go ahead.
And I just like I agree with him there. I mean, I can't empathize because I haven't been in those shoes. I haven't been a professional athlete, but I do think too that it is okay to criticize as long as it like doesn't cross the line. That's something that they were talking about too. And I think different guys maybe have different lines, but there's certain things that that specifically like you're not gonna dive into about a player when you really don't know them on a personal level. You just know them in between the lines for the most part and some quotes in interviews. But I think that's an interesting thing, an interesting line that you kind of have to toe as a media person or as a podcaster, as an analyst.
Correct. That's also the part too about the former players turned media. It's like you've been in those shoes, like how difficult it is. Yet you still want to talk about chasing rings the whole time when just being on that field every day, being on that court every day, and showing up and putting whatever your best is difficult just enough with that. So definitely applaud Ultra for bringing that up, and it's definitely a great point that I hope that more of these former athletes take note of as they enter the media side. So definitely amazing things there.